Welcome to the Gita in Action podcast. My name is Radha. I'm here with our family of seekers. We're reading through the Gita verse by verse here. And today we are on the last verse of what we call the Chatur Sloki slokas. And what it is, it's four verses in the Gita that are known as like the nutshell verses. Like if you really want to just get straight to the heart of the Gita, you go to these four verses, and it's verses 8 through 11. And they're very potent with the message of the Gita. And so today we are just wrapping up that section of four verses. We're on the very last one. And that's what we'll talk about today. So thank you all for being here and looking forward to digging into this verse with you all. Before we start, let's start with our prayers. Stella, can you say our prayers for us this morning?
Sure. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jana Jana Salakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Svapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Thank
Jai
you.
Srila Prabhupada.
Jai. Thank you. So nice. All right, let's get right into it. I will share my screen and let me go to the next verse here. We're starting at 10:11 today. 10:11. So whenever you're ready, Stella.
Esamivan kampatam aham agyanajam tamaha nasayami atma bhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance.
Thank you. Okay, so in this verse, Krishna is saying, out of special mercy, I destroy the darkness. And this is important because we can notice what he's not saying. He's not saying you figured it out, you analyzed deeply enough, you thought hard enough. He's saying I destroy it. And this is telling us something profound. There's no possibility of understanding the supreme truth by speculation. You know, we can't do it on our own. We can think, we can analyze, we can philosophize for millions of lifetimes, but the absolute truth is not an object that we conquer intellectually. Right? Krishna's too great to be captured by mental effort. So if there isn't devotion, if there isn't love, then no amount of speculation will reveal him. And that's like the secret code, like the password in, is just a heart full of love. We can't do it on our own. This is just fact. So many of us have tried. So many of us have tried just to do it on our own. I know I have tried to do it on our own. And if we're fortunate, Krishna will arrange circumstances such that we learn that actually we can't do it on our own. We can't think our way through it. Right? Understanding God is it's not a matter of grasping. It's a matter of being grasped. While we can discover lots of truths about the world through our own intelligence, we can't grasp the one who is beyond the world by stretching that same intellect. So this is where we have to understand that we're just finite beings. This is actually such a reassuring thing that we're finite. Like, actually, you don't have to have it all figured out. You're not even designed to have it all figured out. There will be things that you can't think your way through, that you can't figure out. And sometimes in life, when we hit these things that challenge us in this way, this is really like the impetus for our spiritual growth. It's really the impetus for us to kind of reach our hands up and say, look, I can't do it on my own. I'm realizing that this particular obstacle or what I'm going through is just too much. So this is a beautiful test of life that Krishna gives us, and many of us have had these moments in life or get to this place in life, this crossroads, where we're kind of confronted with this reality that we're finite and God is infinite. This is just by design. By design, we're finite. By design, God is infinite. And it's only by His divine grace that the finite can gain insight into the infinite. And we can't comprehend Him by just climbing upward through sheer effort. We can comprehend Him by when our consciousness is lifted upwards by grace. And the process of bhakti yoga lifts our consciousness up. That's the process of bhakti yoga. We can picture like a rescue by a rope dropped by a helicopter, like in a disaster zone. Like, you don't fly yourself out. You hold on to the rope and you're lifted up by the helicopter, right? By the rope that's connected to the helicopter. This is what grace looks like. This should be our visual. That we're lifted up by grace. And this is what even gives us any opportunity to like scratch the surface of understanding God, of having a relationship with God. It's by His grace. And when we realize this, it makes us quite humble. It makes us quite humble because even if we're going around in our spiritual practice and we're starting to feel a little bit proud, that this happens. Maybe we start to feel a little bit proud. I'm learning things. I'm meditating a lot. You know, all the things. When we come to this realization that actually any success that we've had in life, or what to speak of our spiritual life, is just by the grace of God. It's not on our own efforts. It's not by our own efforts. It's given to us. So if you're able to meditate for long periods of time, or you have a service, you've been called to a service that is impactful, or recognize that this is the grace of God. Even the fact that you have the opportunity, even the fact that you're sitting here right now, is Krishna's mercy. And this is humbling. This is humbling, and this is why humility is a symptom of a devotee. Because that's a natural realization when we understand this concept. And it doesn't mean that our intelligence is useless. In fact, our intelligence is super important. Our intelligence is super important because this is what brings us this level of humility. It helps us to recognize our limitations. Our intelligence, if it's used right, if it's clear, if it's not corrupt by the mind, if there's not a virus going on in the mind body intelligence system, and the intelligence gets a little bit hijacked, which happens to the best of us, right? But when our intelligence is clear, it can help us to recognize our limitations, and it can help us to recognize the need to submit to something higher. I think of alcoholics in this example, because we all probably know somebody um who has some addiction problems and is in denial. They're just in sheer denial. Like I can stop anytime I want, or this isn't a real problem in my life, or this is very common. Okay, this is an example of the intelligence kind of being corrupt by the mind. Right? The mind wants what the mind wants, and so then the mind so then it hijacks the intelligence, and the intelligence then rationalizes whatever the mind wants. Okay, but when our intelligence faculty is working clearly, our intelligence will be able to recognize, look, I actually can't do this on my own. I'm really struggling. I can't stop whenever I want. This is a clear intelligence. And this is an intelligence that is serving the soul. This is an intelligence that's serving the soul, not serving the mind. And this can be like this would be like a first step in our spiritual life. This recognition, it could be so valuable. So the intelligence is quite important. Well, because it can recognize, like, look, I'm limited. And okay, maybe I do need something higher than myself to pull me out of that helicopter ride. It can recognize it. Maybe I do need a rope to pull me out. And then it can also recognize that we should hold tightly to that process of grace that's been revealed. I mean, it can keep us holding on to that rope, understanding that, hey, this is what's actually lifting me out. I'm not pulling my way out of this. I'm being lifted. And so this is actually this is like the best purpose of the intelligence. This is like what the intelligence is designed for, to guide us towards surrender, not replace it. Sometimes in this world full of fear or ego, or we get convinced that the purpose of the intelligence is that I'm so independent, I can do everything on my own. This is like empowerment, this empowerment movement. But actually, the real purpose of intelligence is to guide us towards surrender. This is the real purpose of intelligence. And then when that surrender matures into devotion, then something extraordinary happens. The supreme truth, who's not just an abstract energy, but this supremely loving and lovable person, binds us in relationship of this pure spiritual love. This is what happens when the intelligence faculty is used in the way that it was designed, in the way that it was designed, and that is to impel us towards a mood of surrender. And then that surrender over time blossoms into devotion. And this devotion is where we really get bound by Krishna. And in that bond, we're elevated, we're liberated, and we enter into this life of eternal happiness. And all this happens not because we conquered God with our intellect, but because by his mercy, he allowed us to know. So we should understand this. It does take endeavor. It does take endeavor, but ultimately, we have to climb onto that rope. We have to grab that rope, but ultimately, it's the helicopter that's pulling us out, that's pulling us up. Does anybody want to share anything before we move on?
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
is there anything we can do to invite grace?
Oh, wow. Is there anything we can do to invite grace? I think there's a lot of things we can do to invite grace, right? What do you think?
Well, I guess in a receptive sense, we keep our hearts open. But in an active sense, devotional service, I ask as a question.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what even something like chanting, many of us have a practice where we chant God's names every day. And just a practice like that, I mean, we can think of the practice of chanting as us like standing on the ground in this burning forest fire, and we are like just waving our hands up and down. Yeah. And we're like, and our mood should be like, please see me, right? Please rescue me. I mean, really, our mood should be like, let me serve you. But that just in itself attracts attention. When that's our sincere desire, when our sincere desire is to connect with God, that's us waving our hands. When our sincere desire is, God, I want relationship. That's us waving our hands. So yeah, we engage in these practices, but at the end of the day, like our mood, even when we're doing these practices, is what really God is God is seeing and allows the mercy to descend. It allows the rope to come out of the helicopter. So all these things. I mean, when we do any service with a sincere heart, that attracts Krishna's mercy. When we're chanting, when we're singing kirtan, when we're in the association of devotees, when we're maybe we're serving with other devotees and there's a struggle and we approach that struggle with love out of service to God, right? And or maybe the first thing we want to do is approach that struggle with our ego, and we step back and think, okay, how could I handle this situation in a way that would please God? That is like jumping up and down. Wait, I mean, God will see that. That's attracting God's mercy. So every day we can do these things that attract God's mercy and see his love in our life in the form of that rope rope down, pulling us out of this material ocean. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Mhm. Beautiful question. Thank you. Anybody else want to share anything?
I think keeping the heart soft, and it's like it's easier to grow stuff in loose soil kind of. And one of the ways you could do that, I mean, devotional service, but just simply like being kind to, all living entities. Um, like just practicing that I think keeps the heart soft
Yeah,
and receptive.
definitely.
Even not in devotional service, look, officially, just in our dailies.
Yeah, so even being kind, this is something, when we're being kind, we can be kind for our ego to say like, look what a nice person I am, or we can be kind in the mood of service to God. And it's not that, one's bad and one's good. It's just that to the degree that we can purify our intention, that to even our mood is a service to God. It is to that degree we're building more relationship with God.
Seeing God in the other entity.
Yeah, I mean that's really the gold standard where we really want to get to. Yeah. But that realization that yeah, it takes some time. Thank you, Stella. What do you think, Aaron?
People, I love a visual, so I love this um, analogy of the rescue helicopter. Very similarly, Gary Govardhan talks about like us individually being at the bottom of a well and like rescuers coming and throwing a rope down, and how oftentimes we think like we need to endeavor and struggle to pull ourselves up, like the rope has already come, and we still think like that it's on us. And he calls that like the path of bigness, whereas like when you realize that you just need to hold on, and
Mhm.
that rope will be pulled up by by the rescuers, by God, by Krishna, like, and he calls that the path of littleness. So, just what you're saying of like the, enter in humility and, but yeah, I love a visual, so I wanted to share that one too.
Yeah. Thanks, Aaron. And Aaron, for you, what is holding on? Oh, helicopter emoji. I love it, Stella.
Amazing. Oh,
Yeah, what does
that's a
holding on to the rope mean for you?
really good question. Um, I think it really goes back to Kawatanji's question of like, how can we just like even be ready to like see the rope? How can we even be receptive to like, I don't know, even the hope that a rope will come? I don't know. Like, I feel like there's a lot of, um, yeah, like follow-up questions with that. But I do think it's like a lot of what has already been said of like, um, whatever our sadhana is, just like rooting ourselves in that. Um, and I really like what Stella was saying. Like, I think sometimes we get in this mindset that like it only counts if it's like in a temple, or like it only counts if it's like, during japa time. And it's like, no, it's everything in your life, right? It is the mundane. It is the, you know, times when you're interacting with quote unquote devotees and times when you're not interacting with devotees, right? Like, um, but that's a really good question. I feel like I need to think about it more.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So, I went to New York this weekend because it's my mother-in-law 80th birthday.
Hmm.
And I went and I did a little prayer for her because for the past 2 years she hasn't been able to walk. Her knees and her legs are gone. So she's not able to walk. But the weather in New York was bad, and my husband got sick. So we made plans before we went what we are gonna do, who is gonna cook and who's gonna prepare and all of that. And my husband was supposed to do a lot of it, but he got sick, so he couldn't do anything. The weather is bad. You're in and out. New York is like walking in the stores and all of that. Anyway, we had it. It's done, and then we had the news of the bad weather that is gonna hit, and we're thinking we need to get out of there before we get stuck. I couldn't change my flight to an earlier flight, so we came on a regular flight, and we made it out to Atlanta. We got on the tarmac and we had to wait 1 hour before we could get into the gate.
Hmm.
And I'm saying and there are people in there who has connecting flights and they lost their flight. There's nothing that they could do. And then I'm saying to myself, well, I'm thankful at least I've made it home. Then we go to the baggage claim, and one of the baggage was there right away, and the next one wouldn't come. It wouldn't come. We waited 1 hour and it wouldn't come. Then I went to the customer service to find out, to make a claim, only to find out that it's on another carousel. So we spent another 3 hours just there in the airport. And then I'm asking myself, I said, wow, God, I said, Krishna, why are you making it so difficult for me to get back home? You know that after everything, everybody's in their home, they're asleep, back to Miami, and here we're still struggling to get home.
Hmm.
Um, and it's the same thing when I went to Pennsylvania. Remember, I probably was the last one
Mm,
that got home um the wee hours, and I'm saying, oh wow. I said, Krishna, you're always making it so difficult. I can't understand why. But then at the same time, I'm so thankful that we made it out of New York and we're back home.
mm,
So, yeah, sometimes I look for the higher purpose or the higher reasoning behind of it, but at the
mm,
same time, I see another way. I see
mm,
how thankful I have to be for getting out of New York, because there's so many flights that were canceled at the
mm,
moment. So sometimes we look for reasoning, but we might not be able to see it right before our eyes. It's right there,
mm.
but it's the little things that matter most. So,
Yeah,
so yeah,
yeah,
thank you all for sharing and for the class. Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say, yeah, it's not easy. It's never been easy. But I in my heart, like the kindness, like Stella says, in my heart, I know that Krishna is there. And so every time I have to go back and I have to remember that he is the guide and light,
mm,
and that everything that happens in our life happens for a reason.
mm,
There is a reason behind of it, whether it's our karma or whether it's to teach us something else. But that's for me, that's how I look at it. That's always, whether it's good or bad, it's a reasoning. Maybe I wouldn't see it now, but I just have to accept it.
yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
That's really beautiful. Thank you,
Thank you.
Anita.
Thank you.
Yeah, because sometimes in the like darkness, in the dark tunnel of when we're in the dark tunnel of light of life, it's hard to see the light. And to your point, it takes a conscious effort. I like to say like I could just sit and get kind of swallowed by all the negativity that's going on around me and all the things that are
Yes.
going wrong.
Yes.
Or I,
Absolutely.
yeah, I could choose to see what is going right and
Yes.
and see Krishna's hand in that. See that Krishna really is taking care of me, even though, in this microsecond, things seem very frustrating. But big picture, just zoom out
Exactly.
a little bit more. We see Krishna taking care of us, and sometimes it's just making that choice to see things in that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really nice. Thank you. Yeah, for me, when I think about what is holding on to the rope of that the helicopter drops, I think of just association of devotees. Association of like-minded souls on this path. It's like our lifeline. Without that, I feel like my fingers would just slip right from that rope as soon as I was able to see it and grab on. They would just slip and I'd be right back down. Because we really need this community of like-minded souls to with us on this journey. It's like we can't do it alone. And walking this journey with like-minded souls, it inspires us, it lifts us up. Sometimes when we can't see the rope, they can see the rope. Sometimes when we're just swallowed in the darkness, they can see the light, and vice versa. And we need this. So it's not optional. It's a necessity. The association of devotees. Yeah. What do you think, Katie?
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. This is a little silly, but it's fine. My dad and grandpa, their careers were helicopter rescue pilots in the U.S. Coast Guard. So, like, when I was like in preschool, we went to Houston Air Station and sat in the basket and rode up. Just the helicopter was parked, but just like rode up to the door, like, like little 4-year-olds and the 5-year-olds in the basket, and it's just like um I just wanted to share that because it's just neat. And then it was making me think though, like all along. And I mean, I grew up in a really nice Catholic like community, held, enjoying it, honestly, mostly. Um, and my parents are very open to everybody and great. But it was just making me think how like I feel like all my life I had this like sense like there is a rope, and I just didn't like understand it, and then but it was and then with like Catholicism, as we've discussed, like sometimes you're just it's not as much like explained, or um you know we don't learn as much as deeply as I have here personally, and then like being in like asana yoga from like college days, 25 years ago, and then like kirtan every so often, but just all along I've like just kind of had this feeling like I want to find it, and I found it with bhakti.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Fortunate. You're
Yeah.
very fortunate for many reasons. Yeah, I think I spent most of my life just trying to climb up that rope myself and just getting tired and falling down and not being able to admit that I was too tired or not strong enough.
And confusion, I just a lot of confusion in the 20s,
Yeah.
and mental health, anxiety, depression, like, and happenings, like tough stuff in life. And yeah, so it's a
Yeah.
lot of, it's
Knocks
not a
you down.
linear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, much
Thank
less
you.
than trying to find the rope. I feel like I was trying to make a rope from my own. There wasn't even God's rope. It was, I thought I'll make
Yeah.
my own rope, but it's not attached to anything.
That's really good too. I've probably done that quite a bit as well. Yeah. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you all. You really made that come alive. So yeah,
That's the Gita in action, Radhapriti.
yes, it's the Gita in action. And our week, this should be our visual as we go through our week, is this helicopter and this rope descending. And are we going to reach out and let the rope lift us, or are we going to fight it or turn away or not even see it? And what does that mean? This could be a whole journal prompt. If you're into journaling, I would encourage you to journal this. Even if you're not into journaling, this would be a good thing for all of us to journal this week. And so we can and it will help us to be able to see the rope when it is extended to us. It's like Anita was talking about. Yeah, very nice. Thank you. Thank you all. So the other thing this verse mentions, this verse has this beautiful metaphor of light. It says, "I dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance." Okay. So this is again a beautiful visual for us, because when there's darkness, what do? We reach for a flashlight. We don't argue with the darkness. We don't push it out manually, right? We just turn on the light. Just turn on the light, and the darkness disappears automatically. When there's light, there's no darkness. So Krishna says that he's like that light in the heart. And here's the real issue. We're careful about our outer world. Okay, we make sure that the lights work. We secure our homes, we manage our schedules. But sometimes, especially in this culture, we have a tendency to forget about our inner world. Inside, there's confusion, there's old impressions, there's fears, right? There's desires that promise happiness but really make us agitated. And this is because of so much material association that goes back lifetimes. And it's not even just this lifetime. Our heart just becomes covered with this dust. Just thick layers of dust of ambition, dust of comparison, dust of insecurity, dust of ego. Just it's so much dust that we can't even see clearly. And so then whatever thought arises, we assume like, oh, that's me. That's me. whatever thought I have, whatever I'm, desiring, that's me. But the Gita reminds us that you're a soul, you have a mind, and the mind is not always clean. It's actually, this is pretty simple. You're a soul, you have a mind, the mind is not always clean. And that's the kind of darkness that Krishna is talking about. When the mind is not clean and the soul cannot shine through because there's too much dust over the lens of the mind. To the flashlight analogy, the lens of the flashlight is like the mind. And if the lens of the flashlight is just painted over with like a dark, thick coat of spray paint, it's not even if the light is very bright, it's not going to shine through. And so this is what happens with our mind mechanism. It gets so cluttered by all of this dirt that the qualities of the soul can't shine through. But the good news is, this isn't all bad. The good news is that there's hope. And the hope is that we don't have to sit there and scrub that dust off by ourselves through endless intellectual effort. The hope is that if we engage in this devotional service, we chant, we remember, we serve. And as we chant, the dust begins to clear. And this process actually happens very quickly relative to how much time it took to accumulate all that dust. This can, to the degree that we're sincere in our chanting, this process can happen very quickly, that these layers just start to kind of wash off. I mean, many of us have experienced this in this lifetime. We've experienced lifetimes of accumulation of dust. And then just in this lifetime, and forever how long we've been in this, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, we've noticed that layer of dust has become a little bit thinner. And this is through this process of devotional service, because when the Lord is pleased by this loving devotional service, he personally intervenes. He reveals himself. He illuminates the heart. And it's when he illuminates the heart that the inner world becomes both bright and right. It's like bright, we can see again, we begin to recognize like that desire that looks so attractive, like that's actually going to make me miserable. I don't think I want to eat an entire tub of ice cream. That's not going to make me feel good. Yeah. We start to see things for what they are. The pattern that I keep repeating, that's not leading me upwards. Why do I keep repeating this pattern that is just bringing me down? This is the light in the heart. This is what happens when we start to practice devotional service, and God starts to light up our hearts so that our internal worlds we can see more clearly. And in that, we can align more correctly. We begin to recognize that the actual impulses that are our friends are impulses that bring us up. The impulse to be with devotees, the impulse to chant, the impulse to serve, to grow closer to God. We start to gravitate towards those things. This is the shift that starts to happen inside of our inner worlds. Those desires strengthen. And we know this because we know if you think about how much time you spend now on your sadhana, on your relationship with God, relative to how much time you spent a year ago, or 2 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, you can see that your natural inclination, just what you want to do with your free time, that's actually growing. You're actually getting clearer and brighter inside. And this is the process. This is Krishna working inside of our hearts. This is the mercy that's descending from him seeing our SOS. And as we continue to engage in these practices, our affection for him increases more and more. And that affection, that relationship is what is bringing us home. So this is the this is just to kind of dig in deep to the analogy of the light dissipating the darkness, right? And how Krishna is that light. It's not that we move the darkness ourselves. It's that Krishna becomes illumined in our hearts, and all of a sudden our inner world becomes clear and bright. And some may ask, how do I know when I'm oh, another fun emoji from Stella. Stella, I'm loving the fun. She just had a light bulb emoji. Super fun. So some people may ask, how do I know when I'm receiving Krishna's mercy? And because we want to be able to recognize this better. And a lot of us have experienced these really high, intense devotional moments. Like maybe you're in a kirtan and something opens in your heart, or maybe you're on a pilgrimage and you feel almost like lifted, like transported. Like you're just like risen above the anxiety and the noise of life. And these moments, they feel so different from our normal experience that we think like, wow, this is Krishna's mercy. And the reality is that yes, this is Krishna's mercy. But we should also understand that this isn't the only way that Krishna's mercy shows up. This isn't the only way that Krishna's mercy shows up. In fact, those devotional flights will happen more and more regularly when our heart has become purified. And until that point, most of us will move through some cycles. Sometimes we're inspired, sometimes it's dry, sometimes we're deeply connected, sometimes we're just going through the motions. And and when that dryness comes, we may wonder, like, did Krishna step back? Or why am I not feeling anything? Or where did the mercy go? This is a common thing that people experience when they first get into spiritual life. They get the spiritual high right away. And that's what really binds them. Like, wow, this is unlike anything I've ever experienced. But then what commonly happens is they go through this dry moment, like they get home from pilgrimage or, they get home from a retreat and they're like, what happened? Where am I? I don't feel it anymore. Where's Krishna? Where did the mercy go? And the Gita challenges us, to expand the definition of mercy, because we should understand that it doesn't only appear as emotional ecstasy, but it also appears as clarity. Kind of like what Anita was saying. It shows up as philosophical insight, as understanding. Like for example, if we're chanting and we're not really feeling anything, mercy might show up as the realization that, hey, these practices are still working, even if I don't feel it. So in other words, mercy is still showing up. Mercy is still showing up in the realization that God is still here, even if I'm not like experienced, I don't feel it in my body this particular time and moment, even if I'm just not super inspired. The mercy shows up in the impetus to just continue on. This is kind of parallel to what Anita was saying. Instead of just seeing these moments as, oh, God's not here, God's not looking out for me. Mercy shows up in the realization that, oh wait, actually, he is. He is still here. So just in the same way that we don't see our bodies like healing minute by minute, we're not always going to see or perceive this purification process that's happening in the heart. The mind is fickle and bhakti is subtle, but the process is powerful. So we should understand this too. Don't always expect Krishna's mercy to just show up in this wave of bliss, because it will, but even more on a much more subtle, deep level, Krishna's mercy will also show up in this steady conviction that keeps us practicing anyway, even when things get tough, even when Krishna's throwing these curveballs at us that are like, what is going on with my life right now? I thought that this was happening and this was going to be so good for everything in my life. And now it's going this way. And where is God? The steady conviction that God is still there, even in these really difficult moments, is Krishna's mercy. And we just, as we progress in our spiritual life and our spiritual evolution, we will start to be able to see it like that. And that's what this verse is telling us, that Krishna's mercy manifests as this inner knowledge, this knowledge that clears misconceptions. So instead of thinking like, oh, I don't feel inspired right now, something's wrong, we understand that the steady practice itself is success. Devotional ecstasies, they're going to come and they're going to go unpredictably. But this philosophical insight comes much more reliably whenever we sincerely apply ourselves to this hearing and studying. So we learn to start seeing this as mercy. And this is what empowers us to continue, through the highs and the lows. So mercy's not just the lift, it's also the light. It's not only the feeling, but it's this understanding that keeps us walking. This is what's carrying us up. What do you think, Katie?
Hare Krishna. Oh, wow. I think it does get more and more rewarding, or like we can see that more and more. For example, just even this class seems like a wave of mercy. Like, I love how sometimes Kalachandri's like, you're on fire, like, because the classes lately have just been like, wow. Not that they, word before, but and a little few minutes ago, it was just, I was thinking about Shakti and how I love how she would always be so open to share, like this is making me emotional, because it's very simple when you were saying like our habits and wanting to, like, our sadhana, like, realizing over time, like, more and more time is taken up with association and lectures and bhakti stuff. And it was just making me feel like so nice to just hear the simple thing that is a reflection of that light being more illuminated and less dust, and the process working, of clearing the dust. And I've just wanted to share because it's important to be honest about how great that is, and how it can really just uplift the emotions. So here we are with bhakti. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful. And this is the beautiful thing about spiritual life. We no longer have to live in constant anxiety. This is like so reassuring. We no longer have to live in constant anxiety. And not because life becomes perfect, because that's never going to happen, but because when the darkness in the heart is removed, this clarity comes. And when this clarity comes, unnecessary struggle drops away because Krishna's taking charge. And this doesn't mean that we stop acting or we stop trying, but it means we stop striving from the ego. We stop fighting for control and we act from alignment. And when the Lord is pleased, he provides what is necessary. And this is the essence of the Gita. Not endless argument, not intellectual domination, but this surrender, this loving devotional service. And then illumination. Krishna's like the sun. When the sun rises, you don't have to chase the night away. It's like it just simply disappears. And this is what happens in our hearts. In the same way, when Krishna rises in the heart, ignorance dissipates. This is his special mercy. Not that we become brilliant, right? But he becomes present. And when he's present, everything just becomes bright and right. This is his special mercy. What do you think, Stella?
Again, I like Katie said, you're on fire. So this is a fantastic class, and I want to lift up our friend Denny, who is here. I think he left, but he's struggling, and I realized like he's here with us in the class. He said some stuff in the chat, and he was here. Like, that's the mercy, that's the clarity in his own, mind and heart that made him still come to the class, even though he was feeling low.
Yeah.
So let's keep each other in our prayers. Um, that's also powerful when Krishna sees that you're thinking of someone else in their hardship.
Yes, definitely. Thank
We're
you.
here together,
Thank you.
wherever we are, whoever we are at this moment. We're here together. It's beautiful.
Thank you. And we need each other to even help like buckle us into that harness. And our prayers can be that buckling. So yeah, thank you. Thank you. So in these four verses, just to kind of like zoom out a little bit more, these four verses that again we're calling the essence of the Gita. This is like the nutshell verses of the Gita. Krishna's really bringing everything together. So just to back up a little bit in verse 10.8, the first verse of this four verse series, he explains that when someone truly understands that he's the source of everything, something shifts. It's no longer just, oh, that's interesting philosophy. It becomes transformational. And when we understand this, that everything comes from him, the heart responds naturally. Attraction awakens, gratitude awakens, and devotion begins to flow. And then in verse 9, we learned what this inner shift looks like. Devotion is not forced, it's not mechanical, it's not, I guess I have to be spiritual now. It becomes the natural direction of our emotions. Remember, we talked about just our inner house, our inner home. Krishna becomes our inner home. Where we go back to when we're looking for nourishment and connection. Krishna becomes our inner home. We want to remember him. We want to speak about him. We just feel nourished by that connection. And this is when spiritual life stops feeling like obligation and just feels like home. I keep saying home because it's just safe and comforting and then we get to these final two verses 10 and 11, and they are showing what happens in the mind. This is when Krishna gives this spiritual intelligence. He begins guiding from within. It's not just us trying to figure out everything alone, like stumbling around in the dark, trying to figure it out. He actively helps. He turns on the light. He gives clarity. He removes confusion. And in this, the heart turns towards him. The emotions align with him. The mind is guided by him. So that's why these four verses are considered the essence of the Gita, because they capture the core dynamic of spiritual life. Like who is Krishna? We understand Krishna is the source of everything. How devotion awakens and how he personally reciprocates. He personally reciprocates by giving us the understanding and the knowledge by which to come to him, by turning on that light in our hearts so that we can see what is actually, see things for what they are, see things that are actually serving us and things that aren't actually serving us. And when we say serving us, we mean serving our relationship with God. This is the clarity that he gives us. And when we understand who Krishna is, the source of everything, these verses tell us how he reciprocates with us. Surrender stops feeling frightening. It becomes reasonable. It becomes natural. It becomes organic. So these verses, they're removing distress because they're redefining reality. Where most of us walk around in this material existence, and our reality is, I'm the controller, I'm the maintainer, I got to get it together. I got to figure out how to pay my bills, how to do this and this and this. These all these things that get us in this mindset that I'm the center. Everything's dependent on me. Right? Everything's dependent on my own sheer effort and determination and intellect. Now, these verses are flipping that on its head. Are flipping that on its head and saying, look, just engage in relationship with me. Just open your heart to me. and I will take care of everything for you. I will give you what you need. I will give you the understanding by which you need to come back to me. And I will turn on the light in your inner world. And that light itself will make everything clear. You won't have to be so stuck in your mind all the time trying to be the controller and the doer. It will just be clear because I could do that. I could turn on the light, everything will be clear. You'll understand. Should I take this job? Should I not take this job? Should I pursue that relationship? Should I not? You won't have to be in this endless reel in your mind. You'll just know. This is what Krishna's promising us. We just have to invest our time, our heart, our consciousness in relationship with him, and he will show us the way. Right? And this is such a mind shift. This is such a life shift. This makes everything just sweeter. Right? We're not and we're not losing security. We're gaining it, but real security, real peace, real security, real peace, because these things can't just be taken away from us. You work your whole life to build up a nice big bank account, and then something happens, the stock market crashes or whatever, and it's gone. And all your security is gone just like that. No, why not invest in the real security in life? This internal security that, hey, God's got my back. God's taking care of me. God's going to give me everything that I need. And I just need to reach out. I just need to invest my time, my consciousness, my energy in relationship with him. I don't have to spend so much time on all these material endeavors that are really just giving me a false sense of security and making me more anxious. Right? So this is the essence of the Gita. It's flipping these cultural standards really on their head. We are so proud. We're so independent. I can do it on my own. No, why? Why would you want to? Why would you even want to buy into the belief that's what's going to bring us happiness? Because it's just so temporary. Be gone in the blink of an eye. That job you worked your whole life for, gone. Because when we invest our time, our consciousness, our energy in relationship with God, now our life is held by something greater than our circumstances. Right? And in this, devotees begin to see everything as Krishna's mercy, and not in a naive way, but with this deep conviction that nothing truly unfavorable can happen to someone who is being guided by him. It's become such a deep conviction. Circumstances may be difficult, but they're never meaningless. Faith combined with knowledge produces this kind of steadiness that survives even hardship. And it's this steadiness, that inner peace, that's one of the greatest signs that these verses are alive in the heart. The Gita is alive in the heart, if we want it to be. So this is true steadiness. This is true realization. This is true relationship. And this is what's available for us all. And that's all that I had for you today. Thank you for coming and being on this journey. I really needed to hear these verses today. It's so easy to get pulled into controller mentality, and we constantly have to come back. This is the practice. We constantly have to come back, remind ourselves. So thank you all. Any final reflections before we end for the day? We can all take with us this visual of the helicopter extending the rope. Let's take that with us this week. So we can recognize, when we're dropping the rope, when we're turning away, when we're not seeing it, when we're fighting it. It's a practice. Thank you all. I'll see you all on Thursday.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.